want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hey everyone, Nadav Hirsch with the JoBlo Movie Network here with another tribute video. Today we take a look back at one of the all-time best sequels.
10 seconds, people, look sharp!
A badass sci-fi masterpiece that helped influence the genre and solidified James Cameron's place as one of the premier blockbuster directors of all time. I am of course referring to Aliens, which celebrates its 30th anniversary this month. Welcome to the JoBlo Aliens tribute video. Following the critical and financial success of Ridley Scott's Alien in 1979, producers David Giler, Walter Hill, and Gordon Carroll immediately set to work making the next one. But legal disputes with 20th Century Fox led to years of creative hell until director James Cameron came aboard the project in 1983. Cameron, a huge fan of the first film, landed the job after Giler came across Cameron's original script for The Terminator.
I'll be back.
He was approached about the project before cameras even started rolling on Terminator. Thanks to a last-minute scheduling conflict that forced Arnold Schwarzenegger to delay filming on Terminator for 9 months, Cameron found himself with spare time to develop the script. Cameron has gone on record stating that he treated production of The Terminator as a dry run for Aliens, testing out ideas and elements that he hoped to use in a later film. After submitting 90 pages to Fox, studio execs were so pleased that they promised the job to Cameron if The Terminator was a success. Spoiler alert, it was, and Aliens was greenlit for a 1986 theatrical release. Set 57 years after the events of the first film, Cameron's goal with Aliens was to create a movie that was a sequel, not a remake. While Alien was a straight-up horror film, Aliens would be a badass combat film, focusing more on terror, less on horror. Cameron was inspired by the Vietnam War, where superior American firepower was ineffective against a hostile foreign enemy. Another major influence was Robert A. Heinlein's Starship Troopers, with Cameron lifting key themes and phrases directly from the text. To this day, many feel the most accurate interpretation of Heinlein's work on film was in Aliens. Key to the continuation of the story was the return of Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, but a payment dispute with Weaver led the studio to request that Ripley be written out of the film. Cameron stuck to his guns, refusing to sacrifice his vision over money. The result? Weaver was offered $1 million to return, over 30 times what she had been paid for the first film. In casting the film, Cameron brought on 3 actors who he had worked with previously on Terminator: Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and Michael Biehn. Rounding out the cast were Paul Reiser, William Hope, Jeanette Goldstein.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
And in her acting debut, Carrie Henn as Newt. All of the Marine actors were asked to undergo 2 weeks of intense military training to build a bond between them, leading to better chemistry on screen. Cameron was given a budget of $18 million to produce the film, larger than anything Cameron had ever received prior, but still prohibitively low for the type of movie he wanted to make. Production of Aliens took place over 10 months in 1985, almost entirely on a Pinewood studio set in England. Supervising the intense visual effects work on the film were brothers Robert and Dennis Skotak, who previously worked with Cameron on various Roger Corman films. The design of the aliens was once again inspired by H.R. Geiger's work from the first film, although Cameron himself designed the Alien Queen. To facilitate a wider range of movement, the alien suits were made of more flexible material, allowing the dancers and gymnasts inside the costumes to crawl and jump, making them even more of a threat. Special effects maestro Stan Winston designed fully articulated facehuggers that were used extensively in the film. The facehuggers were able to move their fingers thanks to wires hidden within the scenery and even inside the actors' clothing. The most challenging scenes to film featured the Queen, a full-sized creature brought to life using a combination of puppeteers, hydraulics, cables, and even a crane to support her full weight. Want to know one of the reasons why this movie holds up so well? It's because that thing is real. Every scene involving the Queen was filmed in camera on location. No post-production manipulation. Damn. 2 massive sound stages were used to build the colony of LV-426, where a majority of the film was set. The most challenging design of all was the forklift power loader exoskeleton. While the exoskeletons were unquestionably responsible for one of the most memorable moments in the completed film, it required months of work to build and could not stand freely on its own. Wires held the exoskeleton in place while Weaver was inside, with additional stuntmen operating the arms and legs. While difficulties with the robots and creatures was to be expected, Cameron also faced significant challenges from his British crew. Notorious for pushing his cast and crew to the breaking point on his films, Cameron hated the British working practices that called for long tea breaks and shorter workdays. Add to that, Cameron was still a relatively unknown director who inspired little confidence in his veteran crew. He even fired the original DP, Dick Bush, for overlighting scenes. The problems didn't end after the film finished filming. Composer James Horner expected to have 6 weeks to write the score based on the final locked cut, but production delays meant that the film was still being shot and edited when Horner began his work. With 6 weeks until the film's theatrical release, Horner had still not seen the final film. The big cue of the final fight scene was written overnight, and the entire score was recorded in just 4 days. And for all his trouble, Horner received an Oscar nomination, and his score for the film is considered one of the very best of his entire career. Still, tensions between Horner and Cameron were so high that many assumed they would never work together again. Obviously, anyone who's seen Titanic knows that didn't happen. Aliens was released on July 18, 1986, and despite a beleaguered production history, the film was a huge hit, earning reviews on par with the raves that Alien received. Aliens stayed at number 1 at the box office for 4 consecutive weeks. The film ultimately earned $85 million domestically, making one of the top grossers of the year. Aliens was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including a landmark Best Actress nomination for Weaver, the first time an actress had been considered for a sci-fi action film. Aliens ultimately won 2 Oscars for sound effects and visual effects. Looking back at the film 30 years later, it's not hard to see why Aliens was such a huge hit upon release. It's an amazing film, one of the all-time greatest sequels featuring great performances, non-stop thrills, groundbreaking special effects, and some of the best sci-fi action ever committed to celluloid. Aliens also represents the pinnacle of the Alien franchise. Future installments, Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, were drubbed by critics and ignored by audiences, and while the merits of those films have been reevaluated over the past few years, there is no question that Aliens represents the very best of what the series has to offer. This week, Comic-Con will celebrate the 30th anniversary of Aliens with a star-studded panel discussion, and in September, the film will be re-released in a 30th anniversary set. All of this is to say, Aliens is a film that will continue to endure for generations to come. It's a masterpiece of the genre, and a great example of a filmmaker coming into his own. I love this movie wholeheartedly, and you can bet this baby is going to be getting a whole lot of play on my Blu-ray player this week. And next week too. Yeah, this movie rocks. Happy 30th anniversary, Aliens.
Get away from her, you bitch!
For the JoBlo Movie Network, I'm Nadav Hirsch.